Episode 273 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by the Adelphi Racing Club.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal racing experience. Looking to own thoroughbred racehorses and win at the highest level circuits? We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Experience the Adelphi difference. Join the club today. Contact us to get a taste of the Adelphi experience and come hang with us this Saratoga meet.
And now let's start episode 273 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 273 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. There is so much news. There is so much stuff going on. I can't wait to tell you all about it, but we are mainly here to talk about the great Saturday card at Belmont Park. 4 stakes, including grade 1s on their closing weekend before we head off to Saratoga. And also Jim Miller is here from Hawthorne Racecourse to talk about a great sequence on Sunday and some horrific flooding that happened also in the Chicago area. He's got some pictures about that. We've got contest news to talk about. We've just got a lot to talk about. So thanks for joining us very much. Please make sure you subscribe. On the bottom right-hand side of the screen, hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new content when it rises on the show. And smash, and I mean smash, that like button at the bottom of the screen. That will send everyone to YouTube. You can see scrolling on the, well, first you can see on my name tag, H Kravitz. At H Kravitz is my Twitter handle. But scrolling right now on the bottom of the screen, a lot of information. You see my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. We've got a lot of shows coming up. Very exciting. You're going to see them scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Next Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern with Nick Tamaro. It's already up on YouTube. Is our Saratoga preview show. We're going to preview the meet and also talk about the opening day Thursday card. We've got Bettin Boozin Wednesday. We have our flagship show on Thursday. And then Friday through Sunday, debuting our new show called Saratoga Today, which is a daily show on the weekends, 10 a.m. Eastern. It'll be a quick preview of the day's races. That is, again, Friday through Sunday, called Saratoga Today, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast YouTube channel. You do not want to miss that as well. Listen, we've got podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We're going to talk about our power picks in just a minute. And we're also going to talk about our website, which you can see right there, hhhracingpodcast.com. But I need some help. I need some help from my great, awesome co-hosts who've been an essential part to the growth of this show, because we've got a lot of promos to deal before we get into our handicapping. So first, let me bring in apparently a big fan of Disney and from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco. Wait a minute, I got to bring up my brand. Oh my goodness! Oh, we need a background. Where's my Belmont background, Pete? I got so many things going on.
We're going dark today. It's scary.
And also, perhaps a new edifice has been built in the Halloran house, or maybe Paul's somewhere on vacation. Paul, we got a lighthouse in the background.
Coming to you live from the coast of Maine.
The rocky coast of Maine. How's it up there, Paul? Looks beautiful.
Well, I got to tell you how we got up here on the 4th, and it rained all the way up. Apparently, it rained up here for like 5 straight days until the 4th. Last week was miserable. Yesterday was 78. Today was like 84. So
I thought you were going to say it rained until the Halloran family showed up, and then everything
Basically,
was sunshiny and beautiful.
Oddly enough, that's how it worked. That doesn't usually work out that way for me, but yeah, it was. We've had two. The weather has been absolutely spectacular today. So yesterday and today. So
I'm glad I've never been. I hear Pete, have you been to Maine or north of Boston? Let's say.
I haven't been to Maine. No, I have not.
I got to tell you, it's a great spot in the summer. Took my morning walk today. I'm staying exactly 1.4 miles from Walker's Point, which is the Bush compound.
Oh.
And little activity around there today. If the Texas flag is flying, President George W. Bush is in town, as he is for the summer, because why would you want to be in Texas in the summer when you can be in Maine? It's about 30. It's 80 here, and it's about 30 degrees cooler. So, yeah, it's a great little spot, and but the show must go on, Howard. The show must go on.
Well, if they show up, tell them we say hello from the HHH. I'm sure you'll have easy access.
I'm looking for an invite, Howard. I'm looking for an invite.
Racing Downwind is here. Good evening, gentlemen. Let's do it. What's going on, Racing Downwind? Christine Race, of course, she's here. Hello, Racing Cappers. Let's make some money. We got Penn State Scott is here. Paul wants to know how the lobster is. Stephen wants to know, Paul.
This is funny, believe it or not, and I'm lived here all my life. I don't eat lobster, but I'll show you if I could show you this picture today from the lobster boat we went on. That's my daughter Martha holding up a lobster that was freshly taken out of a trap. So
wow.
I am not a lobster guy though. So
okay. By the way, Paul, Penn State Scott said your shirt is the Cadillac of track. So good old Parks and wonderful announcer Jessica Paquette.
Pennsylvania Derby. We should all be there. I think it's September 23rd this year.
Okay, we got Lon Garfield here. All right, Lon, thanks for joining the show. Guys, real quick, let's get in some promos. We got Power Picks, and I need you guys involved. We got new Saratoga Power Picks. Pete, why don't you tell them a little bit about it? And as you do that, I'll go and show them. Well, you can show them where to go on the website as I bring it up on screen here. Hold on just 1 second. Tell everyone about our new Saratoga Power Picks, Pete. Here we go.
Yeah, it's definitely so. Howard's going to show you on the website where you can actually subscribe. But basically, we're going to be for the entire Saratoga meet. Yeah, if you click on just the banner on the top. So if you go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, you click on that banner. It takes you to the Power Picks page. As you can see there, Saratoga Power Picks tip sheet. If you scroll down a bit, you can see. So we have technically 4 different options, but 2 different groups. If you're a current Power Pick subscriber, basically you get a discount on your, I think it's basically like a free weekend it comes out to. So you can either subscribe to the weekend Power Picks just for an individual weekend. And what that gets you is Power Picks Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it includes ABC grids for the entire card. It includes picks. It includes spot plays. It includes some statistics. So basically what you get in the Power Picks, except maybe even blown out a little bit more, but you get it for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then if you scroll down just a bit, we also have a Saratoga full meet Power Pick subscription, which means you sign up once and then you get the 3 Power Picks every weekend during the Saratoga meet. One thing I didn't mention about the individual weekend, you have to subscribe to that one each week if you want it. So if you just want to go weekend to weekend, each one is individually subscribed to. You can't do it just once. So, and we have the time there. You have to subscribe before midnight on the Thursday before that weekend, and then you will be signed up. And then for non-Power Pick subscribers, nothing really different, just different prices. And it's basically the same thing. And if you want to subscribe to the Power Picks, Howard, if they want to subscribe to the Power Picks, the original Power Picks, then get the Saratoga Power Picks, you go to our Patreon site, which is right there. You could also access this on that same page on our website. And if you do that by when, Howard? I assume by next Thursday, basically?
Yeah, they've got to do that by next Thursday. If they want the discount, they have to sign up for the regular Power Picks and then sign up for the Saratoga Power
And then
Picks.
you can get then you could sign up after. So the one difference is for everyone, the regular Power Picks are through Patreon. since these are a special item and we wanted to do individual weekends, we can't do that on Patreon. So we're just doing it right through our website. You obviously need PayPal as well to sign up.
I'm just showing everyone again their spot plays, praise plays. Oh, Genius Jimmy. I love seeing Genius Jimmy. That was one of our better spot plays of the year. Crushed it on that race.
That's why we use that example, because we had a couple of winners on that one.
Of course.
But yeah, anyway. So we'll probably give a little bit more detail as we get closer as to what's going to be included as well. Yep. So definitely, please sign up if you're interested in Saratoga. It's definitely a good buy and very inexpensive for a whole meet's worth of picks 3 days a week.
We clarified this also. We are going to do Saratoga on some Saturdays on the regular Power Pick. So if you're a regular Power Pick subscriber, we're not shutting you out of Saratoga. We will cover Saratoga sometimes on Saturdays, but you won't get Fridays or Sundays or every Saturday guaranteed. So there's a lot of reasons why. Real quick also, Paul, we've got something going on here. We've got a pool party that is going to involve, I'm not sure if hopefully you guys are going to be involved with it. I'm not sure your schedule next Saturday, but myself, Kyle Roscoe, Matt Miller, I believe. We got Charlie Freeman has confirmed he's going to be there. We're live, guys, at the Crestwood OTB in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, covering that first Saturday Saratoga. They give us $1,000 to bet, and everyone that's there has a chance to win money. It's $35. You do have to be in the Chicago area, of course. You have to be at this particular OTB if you want a chance to be a part of the money. However, Paul, everyone can watch it because we're going to be live on our YouTube channel. And Pete and Paul, I'm assuming you guys are going to be involved one way or another, hopefully, with the show. Also, Paul, those OTB shows are a lot of fun too.
Howard, I'm going to get out there for one of them. I would love to have gone out for the Hawthorne Invitational. I just couldn't get out of Boston that weekend, and of course I'm away this weekend, so next weekend's not good. But I will get out there for one of them.
Terrific. Hopefully you'll be on remotely for our show on Saturday.
I plan on it.
Also, real quick, guys, we've got a bunch of our horses with Crownsway Racing are running. Two of them one is running next Wednesday, another one's running next Saturday. They're both debuting, and then Shards is going to be running in August. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to be cheering on some horses through Crownsway, Pete. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Yeah, very. And Crownsway had a nice victory today, did they not?
They did.
Yes.
They sure did.
I forget that. I'm completely blanking on the name of the horse.
Jones Way.
I couldn't think of the first part. Yes. So congratulations to everyone involved with that as well.
And then last thing, guys, we're not going to get detail, but I don't know if you saw or heard, the NTRA announced today that 3 players who competed in the NHC have been disqualified. They wouldn't give out names. They're not giving out details. I'm assuming that will come out eventually. I have a hard time believing they'll keep that secret. I don't know. For collusion. It's a damn shame, Paul. You're going to be there for the first time. People try to get away with stuff, and it's a bad mark on the sport. I'm really hoping, I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm hoping these are not 10, final table top 10 people, because that'd be horrible.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I would bet that it's not. But speaking of trying to get away with stuff, Howard, and you know that my quote unquote real job is PR. How the hell do you make that kind of announcement with that little information? I mean, because everyone's
a comment on what's below here, Paul. Jeff Amster says, or he's addressing this to Pete, but the only evidence that Rooney, he's the president of the NTRA, has provided that its cheaters were found included insofar as they coordinated their selections during the contest in Vegas. Paul, I have to believe more details will come out eventually.
Well, okay. I have a lot of questions. Okay, the Vegas tournament.
How much time do we got? Well, looks like we're not going to be doing
the Vegas. Now you were there. When was the Vegas tournament? Was it March? Is that
March.
Correct? All right, so we're in June now. I mean, is this going to be longer than the Medina Spirit investigation? I mean, if they I know you got to do an audit. I get it. Keeneland had to do an audit of the Grade 1 gamble. About 9 days later,
Right.
They said, okay. I just think it's a bad look all around. I don't think you can, because otherwise, and I assume the people know who they are by now, so maybe that's how they justify. But look, why not package the whole thing and say, okay, look, here's the deal, because what everyone's going to know eventually, like you said, Howard. Rule of journalism: once one person knows something, assume everyone knows.
Didn't someone report it? An outsider? What is that? What I read or no? I thought I
I
read
have
that
no idea.
someone. It was like those golf tournaments where someone calls in and says, "Hey, so and
Yeah.
so touched their ball in the rough or something." But that's what it sounded like. So it wasn't even. It's always worse when they're the ones when you're not even the ones who catch it. When the organization isn't the one who caught it. So
By the way, touching balls and roughs, I think is for another show, Pete. But anyway,
it's
Howard,
nighttime.
Howard,
It's
you want to
after-
say
it's
hello to
after
my
8.
friend Alex? Alex, you want to say
Of
hello? Come
course.
over here.
Oh,
This is my friend Alex, who's just bringing me a bit. Say hi, Alex. That's
Alex!
to you, Alex.
What's up, Alex?
We're on
Alex,
National Horse Racing Podcast.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hey,
Alex,
Alex.
I'll take a double.
You guys.
Alex is taking good care of me. Thank you,
All
Alex.
right.
Make sure he tips you, Alex. He's got a lot
Oh,
of
it's-
cash.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got a
Don't
lot of
worry,
cash
he's-
in those pockets.
Alex
Guys,
is
without
doing
getting
very
into the
well.
weeds- without getting into the weeds, because I want to move on, it was reported from someone who was out. I don't know if they were part of the contest, but the NTRA didn't find it themselves. Apparently, it was a self-report, not a self-reporting. It was a reporting of someone who saw the picks and were in the contest. Anyway, I don't know. It's a shame. But
We can
things
talk
will
about
come
it more once some of the
Yeah.
details come out.
For sure.
We'll talk about
All right,
it.
guys, let's get into. Let's see. We covered everything. Let's get into pick 5.
Oh, we didn't cover everything. Could we spend 30 seconds saying that our friend Ray Handel almost got screwed but didn't, and we're glad that he didn't?
Yes, we are happy that Ray Handel did not get screwed, but listen, he's a great guy. I know him personally. I knew about the story before it broke. I've got some inside intel. I thought all along he'd be cleared, Paul, based on
Right.
the information
Sounded
I
like it.
knew. He's not the only one. It's
Right.
This is the new territory, ladies and gentlemen, that we're
It is.
flying into. I mean, Diodoro. We could go, or not Diodoro. Excuse me, not Diodoro.
Wong.
Well,
Robertson, Mac Robertson at
Mac Robertson.
Canterbury, Wong, blah, blah, blah. But I'm glad Ray was cleared. It's not completely closed, by the way,
Right.
but it's basically closed. And let's just move on. I hope it doesn't do any. I mean, it does a little bit of damage because it just got out there and whatever. But let's just move on from that. So yes, we're personally very happy about Ray Handel's situation, especially because I have some horse that couldn't run last weekend because of the situation. So anyway, guys, thanks for bringing that up, Paul, too. All right, let's get on to the pick 5, guys. Let me do it right now. Let me bring up the what are we starting here in race 8, right? Okay, we're going to start in race 8.
did you want to do race 5 quickly at all?
Yes, I
You
did.
mentioned that,
Thank you
yeah.
very much. Yep, I'm a little bit all over the place, guys. I got a lot in my mind. Let's
It's
talk
not
about
going to
the
take
Suburban.
long. This one shouldn't take. This one shouldn't
No,
take long.
the Suburban. To say it used to be a nice race is a bit disrespectful, but this used to be a nice race, guys. And we're not going to go through it a lot, but it's Saturday. It's outside the pick 5. It's only a 5-horse field, which to me is absolutely incredible. And you can see the field there. I just scroll through it. You got Total Impact, Red Run, Clapton horses. We know Charge. It's 3-5, an Unbridled Bomber. Quick thoughts, Pete, on this race.
Well, I'm just not a fan of Charge It. I always think he's a horse you can beat. Now this field didn't come up overly strong, but I in my head, I don't even know. I doubt I would even play the race necessarily, but I like the 1-horse Total Impact, but it's more of a play against Charge It. And I think Total Impact at least looks to be improving. You would say it's normally a big step up in class, but in terms of the other horses in the race, it's not really a huge step up in class aside from Charge It, even though it's going from an optional claimer to a grade 2, I think it is. So I would probably just do a play against Charge It, whoever that might be.
Paul, your general thoughts here?
I'm playing the 1, Pete. I agree with everything you said. I think he's already run a mile and 3/8, so the distance shouldn't be a problem. Linda's horses tend to run well in clusters, and he's coming off 2 wins in a row. I get it, optional claiming, I understand, but and look at Charge It. Look at the company lines: Cody's Wish, Zandon, White Barrio, Last Samurai, who we knew wasn't going to win last week, by the way, Howard. Proxy. Stiletto
Right.
Boy, endorsed, but I gotta tell you, even relative to the competition, he's just run really. After the Gulfstream win in an optional claimer, which I was there for, the Gulfstream mile race, that was kind of the tip off. No excuse whatsoever. No excuse at Oaklawn, and yeah, I get it. Those are 3 monsters he lost to last time, but I don't know. Pete, I couldn't agree. Him at 3 to 5. I'm trying to beat him.
I mean, if I lose to him, great. But I mean, this is the kind of race, especially if I mean, 3 to 5 morning line is nuts. So sorry, Howard. It looked like you were going to say something.
No, there's a contest I'll be playing in Saturday, and I think a lot of people are going to weigh heavily on Charge. You guys know I have mad love for this horse. I mean, I liked him always since last year, but
Oh
he
yeah,
is very, very hard to trust here. I don't know what I would. I'm probably going to skip the race, but I might go back to Red Run because I thought that was a weird situation last time. But I don't know, guys. This is a hard horse to trust whatsoever. And
Total Impact, first lifetime race off Lasix. You know, I always like to throw the Lasix thing in,
Ugh,
but
ugh.
first lifetime race off, which
Ugh.
is again, you never know what the hell that's going to be. Maybe hopefully
Yeah.
nothing.
I've actually chased this horse a bunch of times, and he's finally turning it around. Not turning it around, but I always thought he was talented, but he would never really put it together. He's starting to put it together. Happy Harry, by the way, in the bottom of the screen, Paul, said save some of that drink for calling the she's, he's, and etc. So don't drink up for the misgendering. Harry wants to remind you, make sure you save some. All right, guys, I want to move on to pick 5. It's the Suburban is a 5-horse field, and I'm probably going to skip it. But anyway, let's go on to the late pick 5. This is a really good sequence, guys, I thought, with some very tricky races here that we need to talk about. So let me go full screen here, and then I'm going to also bring up our banners, of course, right here coming up. Pete, by the way, you're going to notice something, Pete. I'm not saying it's shocking because, of course, I'd like to believe we're both pretty good handicappers. Our picks are so similar this week, Pete. You won't believe it.
Is that 2 weeks in a row? I think that was
2
last
weeks in a
week.
row.
Oh.
And we've been very.
Maybe we just been on pod.
Maybe
Maybe we just been talking too much, and it's finally our minds are melding, which I don't know if that's good for you. I hate to tell you.
Well, I don't know, but we'll see. It might be good for me. I don't know. It starts in race 8, and it starts the Grade 1, guys. How about starting the pick 5, the Grade 1? It's a Belmont Oaks Invitational. It's $500,000 for the girls, 3-year-old girls. They're going 1.25 miles, so they're really stretching out here. It's a field of 9. You can see, and the Moorline favorite is the rail horse number 1, Mission of Joy. Nice filly for Motion and Gaff Leone. Pete, we're going to go to you first. There's 2 Chads in the race. Number 5, Prerequisite. Number 7, I believe it's pronounced Asprey or Asprey. You're going to go with one of them, Pete. You're going to go with the one that has speed with IRAD. Prerequisite, 5-1 morning line.
Yeah, and this is purely how many times have we seen where there's a Chad that maybe just gets on the lead and just goes and there's nobody to challenge? I mean, if you go strictly from a time form standpoint, you see Prerequisite has a 109. The next horse is an 84 with the 1 horse. So there just projects to be not a lot of speed. Now in that last race, Prerequisite was, Be Your Best was coming at Prerequisite and with a little extra distance probably would have got there. But also Prerequisite was on a really contested, very, very hot pace. And on paper, you just don't see that happening here. So if this horse gets a lone lead, great. The horse also showed 2 back. Now it's made in special weight. Take that for what it is. But was able to sit off a hot pace and pass horses and close into it. So it just looks versatile. It's got, it's Chad Brown, IRAD. You're actually getting a half decent price. So on my ticket, I just don't want to lose to the speed, especially a high quality speed horse like this.
I agree. I think this horse is very dangerous. I'm not worried about the distance with this horse. And he projects, there we go. She projects to be on the lead. So, I think she's going to be tough. Hold on, I've got to listen. If I'm hosting the show,
it's a fantastic race, though. It is a fantastic top to bottom race where I think you can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, well, Paul's going a different way. Paul's going with the 4, and the 4 is Papilio, one of our gals. I love this horse. I have this horse, but she's been. I liked her. Boy, she broke my heart on her first U.S. start. That was a brutal. I need her for the pick 5 and a whole bunch of things, and that was a brutal beat. She's very honest, European bred, but that does not necessarily mean she's going to want distance, Paul. I just want to point that out to everyone who's not familiar with Euros. Everyone thinks, the Euros are going to want distance. Star Spangled Banner, the sire, who's actually Australian, was a sprinter. So high chaparral on the dam side, obviously distance there. You're not worried about that, Paul.
Well, I mean, she was closing at 1.125 miles last time. I thought she ran well. I guess the race, when you look at it, it's kind of a referendum on the Wonder again. I didn't think it was that strong. Prerequisite won by a neck. Pratt rode. Pratt ends up on a different horse this race. We talk about the jockey gymnastics. If that means anything, probably means as much as the lack of Lasix, Pete. But yeah, I think this horse is pretty honest. Castellano's riding is not as well as better than anyone at Belmont right now, and I went away from the Wonder again, and I went with the horses coming out of the regret at Churchill Downs, and I went 4-1, and I threw in the Esprit, the other Chad third.
I don't know if it's the main air, but Paul, you sound wonderful. It's like very clear and crisp, and except for the kids in the background, tell them to pipe down. We got a live show going on
It's
here.
a family resort, and the lighthouse is a popular picture spot, so you're going to get some cameos.
Family schmamily. Listen, Paul, remember you said last week about Last Samurai can't win? You were absolutely right.
Yeah.
Although I thought he ran well, and he lost by like a length and a half. Pipilio's not winning this race. This horse does not want this distance.
Wow.
She's smaller. I like her. Sorry, Paul. I like her in general. I don't think this distance works out for her at all. If I'm wrong, I will, tip my cap, Paul. But I just don't. I don't. She doesn't. She has like more of an acceleration. I think she's better going like 1 mile into a fast pace, like closing. I don't see it with her, even though I like her. I'm going to go with the Spray, guys. And Pete, you're exactly right. The pace might not work out for this gal, but I think she can be up closer. And it's the other Chad, and you're going to get a price. Guys, she blew by Breathaway last time. That was really impressive. I know it was a fast pace. She's by Quality Road out of the Gala Mare Up, and Up was a nice horse, guys, who was in the Breeders' Cup. And I think no pun intended, the upside here is huge for a Spray. I'm hoping Flavian's not too far back. If this horse is like mid-pack, I think she's got a huge shot. You're going to get a bigger price, guys. She's undefeated. She's done nothing wrong. It's Chad and Flavian at like 9-2 in a grade 1. Hello. Sign me up. I mentioned her. I think Mission of Joy is probably the horse to beat, though, guys, in general. And I have a feeling that Mission of Joy and Tyler is not going to be that far off prerequisite, Pete. I know the PPs might not say it, but I have a hard time believing from the rail Tyler's not going to send a little bit and get positioned relatively close to the pace.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, the 1 actually has the second time form. It might be by default that Mission of Joy is in sort of that second, third position. But again, would have to move a little early to make sure that prerequisite doesn't get away. But this is another horse that's done nothing wrong. The only quote unquote bad race, and it's not bad by any stretch, was 2 back. And basically she had a terrible trip and still was closing into Heavenly Sunday, who came back and ran. Did Heavenly Sunday win last week, or ran really well, or ran second maybe actually? But
she didn't win. No,
she ran second, I think. I'm looking at. Oh yeah, to Jajira in the tap-in at Ellis.
But she should have won. I mean, she got away with another slow pace and couldn't get the job done.
But she still, I mean, it still was a quality race.
A nice horse.
It still was a quality race. And Mission of Joy almost took that field down after having pretty much a terrible trip. So it's a hard one to leave off. I do want to mention real quick, Matt Shimura in the chat mentioned the 6 at 10-1. I really like that horse too. Be Your Best was coming late on prerequisite. I guess the only problem would be the same thing is trip. If prerequisite gets too far away, they're not going to be. There's most likely not going to be a hot pace to close into this time. That was my next horse up on the ticket.
Yeah,
basically.
Well, maybe she's improving. I mean, she was well meant last year, but we'll see. The Euros we're not going with, guys. They just look slow to me. Sperling Bayag. I've watched some replays. I mean, you're talking about 85 time form. That's like a 70 buyer at best. That's not going to get the job done. Aspen Grove might be a little bit better. These Euros just don't do it for me in this race. We all agree. And they might be bet because they're Euros, guys. But again, that doesn't mean they can win. So
nope, I agree. I agree.
All right, let's go on to the next race, guys. Race 9. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen as I switch some things around. Oh, you know what? I need to press all here. Hold on 1 second. to get to race 9. Race 9, sorry for the delay, is an allowance race. It's this race. 7 furlongs on the turf. Very, very difficult race, I thought. You can see our picks on the bottom of the screen. We're actually not too dissimilar, which is surprising to me based on this field because it's a big field and there's a lot of confusing things here to me, guys. It's a field of 12 with some AEs. I believe the weather's gonna be okay. I think there's like some chance of rain. It's but I think it's gonna be all right. Morning line favorite is the number 11, Inflation Nation for Clement and Dylan Davis, a 3-year-old, by the way, getting first Lasix 7-2. Paul, let's go to you first. You are going with the same horse that I have. Pete's got second. Horse called Appraise for Chad Brown and Flavian, 9-2.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Howard. Well, look at the favorite. It's 7-2, right? This is a race where I think it's going to, on the one hand, be hard to figure out where the bettors are going to land. But sometimes in races like this, they default to the Chads, to the IRADs, etc. Although IRAD, ironically, is riding for Pletcher here, not Chad. I thought, the 8 has to deal with the layoff. But again, with Chad, that pretty much takes that out of play. Ran well in the Grade 1 summer at Woodbine. Pratt on the turf is just a total magician, and I think whoever you come up with, you might get 3-1. So I landed here.
Yeah, I like his upside. We're playing the stock market, right, guys?
Right.
You got to figure who's going to take that big step. And sure, based on his races last year, he's slow, but he's running mid-70s as a 2-year-old. You don't think Chad's got this horse improved? I mean, for Klarovich, got to. I mean, he was very well meant last year. Before I get into my opinions, in general, Pete, and you've got the 2. Let's go to the 2 next year. Let me see if you're going to. Oh, interesting. So, well, I'll save my thoughts for your after you talk about Elusive Edge. You've got 8-1. He was involved in a very fast pace in a June 9th race, which a lot of horses are coming out of. So I'm going to show that replay because I do want to talk about the June 9th race. And Elusive Edge just missed. Elusive Edge is let me show the replay here. Again, there are a lot of horses. Let's watch this. You want to see the 1A, 2, 7, and 9 are all running back Saturday. Again, the 1A, 2, 7, and 9, and your horse, Elusive Edge, on Saturday is the 2 in this race, and it was a hot pace.
Yeah, was pressed the whole way, and actually, the funny thing is the getting the switch to Johnny V, and I didn't love the ride by Alvarado in either of the last 2 races. And in this one, I thought sort of let the field stay too close. Now, I know it was a hot pace and you're trying to conserve a little bit of energy, but I thought maybe trying to kick away from a 37-1 shot to try and hold off the other horses might have been beneficial. And this horse still held pretty strong. I mean, he was very game. And then you watch Bold Journey actually just had a wonderful run, not in this race, but you see him sort of dive into the rail there. It was a fantastic run by that horse. And then Sousa challenged the 1A who's in this field, went by, but didn't go by in like a way that I thought had a better trip and didn't go by in a way where I thought really outkicked the 2. So I think the 2 with maybe a better ride with Johnny V up, I think just has a decent shot. And in this race, I was wide open. So I started just I was hoping for some prices. And if I can catch one, that's what I'm looking for here.
So again, for the viewers, obviously, if you're listening this, and by the way, our listens are way up on our audio platform. So if you listen to us and you're listening to us right now on an audio platform, obviously later on in the week, thank you very much, and please do so. However, you obviously can't see our replays unless you're watching on YouTube. The 2 is here, the 1A was here. Here's the 7. Here's the 9. Here's my general thought, and this is exactly the time to bring this up. I don't like anyone coming out of this race. And Paul, I don't know if you feel the same way, but that race just didn't do much for me. I know the time looks very fast, but Paul, there was a time at Belmont where the turf course was rock hard and the times were very fast. So in theory, you might say, well, Howard, look how fast the times were, blah, blah, blah. I think you got to be a little bit careful. I just don't like really anyone coming out of that race, Paul. That's why my 3 topics are not coming out of the June 9th race. Any thoughts, Paul, on that?
I tend to agree. I mean, 56-1 is moving.
Yeah.
Turf, hard turf or no turf, that is moving. But certainly Bold Journey. You'd be looking at a low odds. You'd be looking to try to beat that horse next time, based on the rail. I mean, hats off to him. The rail opened and up he went. But yeah, I did not. I did not go. I have elusive edge as a C. Because I do think,
So do I.
hey, look, if he goes around in 57-4 this time, then those last two furlongs might be a little easier to get. So, yeah, I did not go with. I kind of tend to agree, but I think the horse did run well though, considering the pace.
Yeah.
And I know the turf was hard, but he didn't really give it up till late stretch.
I'm going some fresh faces. By the way, Kyle Roscoe, host of Bettin Boozin, is in the chat. Hello to everyone in Chatsville. Let's make some money this weekend. Kyle and his father will actually be at Horseshoe Indianapolis, guys. They're going down to Horseshoe Indianapolis for a big card there. Make sure you check out Bettin and Boozin from last night. I think it was episode 29 for a preview. I've got 3 A's, guys. The 8. I've got Inflation Nation here, the 11. Again, I like turnbacks, guys. I like Clement. This horse has, has some tactical speed and was sprinting last year, Pete. So I'm hoping maybe this horse will be, sort of closer to your 2, or at least closer than it looks on paper. That's my opinion. And I've got a complete wacky horse I just want to throw out there that I'm using as an A, guys. So I don't think it's that wacky. What say thee? Okay. Got an 80 buyer last time going a mile and 1/8. I don't think this horse wants a mile and 1/8. Is newly gelded, is bred very well, is working well. How about, guys, a breeze over the training trap? I'm assuming that's on the Oklahoma, Paul. How about 46 breezing? I mean, I don't usually take turf breezes too much into account. I don't know. It's a wide open race. This horse is sharp. Maybe he wants to turn back. You could do worse with 15-1s. I'm throwing this horse in there also.
And you get Ocean Murphy. You pick up Ocean Murphy.
I'm just against the June 9th race. Sorry, Pete. No disrespect.
Oh, I don't. I have everyone. I had the 5 as a B. I have 4 A's, multiple B's. I like the O.C. Murphy's like my second, third favorite jockey in the world. So I like that he's over and he's picking up some of these mounts. So I had this horse would definitely be on my ticket in some respect for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a wide open race. Let's go on to the next.
I should say, Howard, just before we leave the race, I own as small a piece as you can own, but I do have a small piece of Dracone, the 4, who was coming off a win. It was a good Sunday Memorial Day weekend. I had bought my wife a very small piece of a horse one year for her birthday, because who needs chocolates and flowers? And they both won on the same card at Belmont. Dracone won and Cannon Fire won. So, this guy, this is a big step up in class. He's got to move up from his 77s, but he's a pretty competitive horse, and his right distance is up to a mile. So I'll be using him because I have to use him.
I have him as an A, Paul. I had him as an A, Paul.
All right, Pete.
He was right on. He didn't make my final ticket for budgetary purposes, but he was an A on my list.
Paul, you don't want to see my ABC ticket with your horse.
It's a stretch.
Don't you have to pick him on top, by the way, or is that only national shows?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I might play the NYRA contest Saturday, and I think the only options are to play him to win or not play the race.
That's true. Actually, I think I might have to declare something or whatever. But anyway, all right, let's go on to race 10, guys. As we're switching here to the next race. Oh, those beautiful birds chirping in the background. What a wonderful background. The Belmont Derby, guys. Let's bring that up right now on screen. This is a grade 1. It's for the boys going a mile and a quarter. It's $750,000. Whoa, big purse, big field of 11. With the Moorline favorite, a Euro, the number 11. The Foxes, Andrew Balding, a very good trainer in Europe. Oisin Murphy gets the mount. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Pete and Paul, you guys are locked up here. You're going with the horse we've talked about a lot on this show, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for reasons that were frustrating, like at Churchill Downs during the Derby weekend when we really needed Farbridge very badly. This is a super talented horse, Pletcher and Jose Ortiz. Pete, you'll go first. What do you like about him?
Well, I like the Ortiz move from Rosario. That was the first thing. I mean, I liked this
Ouch.
horse before.
Anyone agree in the chat with Pete, by the way? The
I mean,
move off of Rosario?
I'm going to guess there's probably a couple in there. I don't know if Paul, if that was a swinging factor for you as well, but this horse has always shown talent. I mean, the Pletcher Ortiz combo, 33% wins, 75% in the money on the turf at Belmont. So you always have to like that. I love English Channel. I just really like this horse, and I feel like in the last two races, I feel like he's been compromised in one way or the other. So I'm hoping Ortiz coming on, maybe he just gets a better trip, and we can see the real horse that we've been expecting these last couple weeks.
So let's watch. You got the 6 is Kalik. 4, 6, and 8 are in the race on Saturday, guys. Kalik's on the front end. Farbridge is in the yellow silks, and then you got the 4 Silver Knot for Godolphin. So, if you don't know if you want to go through this race, there's a weirdly and oddly run stretch between the 4 and the 8, especially.
Well, I don't know what the heck the 8 was doing. The 8, I mean, look at the 8 looks like he's going to give up the race and just pull up, and they let Kalik sort of go on the lead with very slow fractions, and then that's just a quality horse and then now you look at Farbridge, all of a sudden has a ton of kick, and watch, he's going to split these, well, not really split, but sneak up the rail and show it and still show some kick, out kick Silver Knot, who was the big favorite. And you weren't getting to Kalik because Kalik is a quality speed horse who sort of had it his way, but again, I don't know what Farbridge was doing. I don't know if it was the horse. I don't know what the problem was, but dropping way back to last like that and then making that run, I'm just hoping to get him a little bit closer and have him in the race a little bit more this time. So we'll see if the switch to Ortiz can help with that.
Paul, from what I've heard and what it looks like, interestingly enough, Farbridge actually prefers to be inside horses, which is very weird to me. I don't know how he's going to be ridden. But to me, Paul, even though I have this horse second, I think the breeding could really help here in this race because this is English Channel of a Kitten's Joy mare. You'd have to believe distance will not be an issue with Farbridge, and it might be for some of the other Americans.
Yeah, and watching that replay, Howard, if you want to be in defense of Rosario, it looks like he was doing everything possible to keep him on the inside, and maybe that's why. But at some point, if there's no hole. There's no hole. I guarantee you he won't be coming from. I shouldn't guarantee. I would highly doubt he is coming from dead last. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Silver Knot maybe just a tad closer with, Richard Mullen having a second crack at a U.S. ride on him. So, yeah, I thought Farbridge ran the best race. Kalik, I thought a real tell here was the morning line of 5-1. 3 wins in a row, Chad Brown, and 5-1 morning line. That was a thievery in that race last time. Minute 1:13 for the 6 furlongs. They were walking, as Pete said. You weren't getting to them. You knew you weren't getting to them pretty much after the half mile, but definitely after 6 furlongs in 1:13. And he really. He wasn't really. Irad was not really asking him that much to stay on the lead. So I think this horse will be lower than 5-1 just because of the connections. And I think the value in the race, if there is value, is to try to beat him. Now you're not going to, using a Euro and using a Pletcher, you're not going to get huge value. But I do think the 8's going to take some money.
Well, with the 7, with Wizard of Westwood coming in,
yeah,
I have a hard time believing Kalik's going to get an easy lead in this race.
Right.
This horse has to be sent for Johnny V. So
yeah,
I think the 7 is going. People mentioned Silver Knot and some nice works. I mean, maybe he's sharp. I don't know. I liked him in the Breeders' Cup last year, but I didn't like his last effort. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. I'm a little bit negative to Silver Knot. Guys, I think the Fox is the real deal. And the 11 hole's tricky, but this horse has tactical speed. He's going to have to get covered up a little bit probably. If he can break okay and get covered up, I think he's very classy. You see the time forms here, guys, are in the low to mid or the low 100s. That equates to, easily
90.
with this field. I think the Fox is the real deal. Lost to Auguste Rodin, who just won the Irish Derby last time. He's facing nice horses, guys. This is a real serious group one Group 2 Euro that I think has got a big shot in this race. That's who I'm going with. Any quick thoughts on the Foxes, or maybe the 10 who you've got third, Pete, who was super duper impressive, beating one of my horses, Certified Lover Boy, who in the race on June 3rd, absolutely blew by the competition.
Pretty easily too. Yeah, I mean,
Easily.
if you just look on impressiveness in a race, this horse I think is the top choice. This one is. I mean, they're sort of, again, I hate to be repetitive, they're all sort of A's for me at this top line, but the 10 was so impressive. Redistricting, he looked great. Now, whether this jump in class is going to be as easy to do, you see, I mean, Your horse ran a pretty solid race too, Howard, by the way.
Yeah, had big odds.
Big number too.
I tipped him out for people that have our yearly subscriptions.
Yeah, yep.
That was a nice try.
But I mean, you look at this horse, the way he sort of strided out, and he didn't, if I remember correctly, just watching the whole race, he didn't use him at all. He just sort of ranged him up, and
I think it was a weak
pretty
field,
easy.
though, Pete.
It was a very weak field. I mean, it's still a maiden special. Now you're coming into a grade 1. Oddly, and I saw this in the closer look at the bottom too, so it was repeated. Chad Brown 0 for 8 with 3-year-old second career starters in graded stakes on turf. That's very specific, but it was just a funny one. I was like, who the hell would even know that that's a thing? Actually, Brown and Pratt together aren't that great in turf routes at this level, the grade 1 level. At Belmont, 1 for 10 wins, 2 for 10 in the money, which is odd as successful they are. I guess the only thing that you think could get this horse is just the lack of experience, and if there isn't much pace up front, hopefully he could sit a little close, though. I feel like he could be mid-pack, and that should give him enough. I'm taking this horse on my ticket at 8-1 in case he's just a monster and he just beats this field.
Yeah, I've got him as a B. Matthew Chimura mentioned the horse might be something special. If he wins this race, that would really impress me. It's so hard to come off of a main win like that. But anyway, we'll see, guys. Let's go ahead and move on. It's going to be a great race for sure. Let's move on to the Victory Ride. Now, the Victory Ride, guys, has an undefeated New York bred. So you know who Paul took, right? Maple Leaf Mel is an undefeated New York bred. So Paul, of course, will be loyal to his New York bred. Paul going against Maple Leaf Mel. Look at that, guys. We are all trying to beat Maple Leaf Mel, who is a super talented filly, and we are all going with Red Carpet Ready, the number 8. Paul, no New York loyalty? What the hell, man?
There's always a story, Howard, right? So let me give you quickly, I'll give you the story. So I'm at Churchill Downs on Oaks Day, and I was working on a feature of Patrick Lewis, who is the owner of Upland Flats Racing, who is part owner of this Red Carpet Ready. Interviewed him, and I said, geez, he's got a horse in the 8 Bells. I'll go down and watch the race from the winner's circle with him. Stood next to him as this horse won that thrilling race. If you remember, Money's Gold moving up was a big favorite in that race. I went back and forth. I love Maple Leaf Mel. I covered the race at Saratoga when she won the Seeking the Ante last year, the day before the Travers. I think this horse is pretty much as good as she's in that female sprint division.
That was close. That was close. I'm gonna have a sip.
Yeah, I got it. I'm all right. A
little one.
And again, I will say this: you don't need to use anyone else in the race. That's not being too helpful to people, but I went. I think post position wise, I like the horse that's able to kind of track everything from the outside. Sayers gave this horse an extremely good ride last time. But Maple Leaf Mel, owned by one of the greatest coaches of all time, Coach Parcells.
Like Dicka?
No, Coach Parcells. I
hope Patrick Kunzel's not listening, by the way.
I was down to the wire on this, and really, I think the final thing where I had to pick one. I think the 8. I think you want to be outside, being able to track in this type of race.
Pete, in a weird way, isn't the key to this race, and at least a reason why I like the 8, is the number 2, Dazzling Blue? I think you know why.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, can I take Paul's place for a second? I when I was looking at Maple Leaf Mel and Paul, I assume you know this story and probably would tell it
Yeah.
better than I would. But somebody in the chat mentioned who's Melanie Giddings, and I was like, yeah, this is weird. Why would you move trainers on a horse that's this awesome unless there was a sale that I didn't know about? So I read about it, and apparently, and you could tell it better. Apparently, Parcells named this horse after Melanie Giddings, who's an assistant to Jeremiah Engelhart, because she had stage 4 cancer, which I think she had since beaten.
Correct.
Now she's training this horse here. It's Maple Leaf Mel, obviously after her. It seems
She's
like
a Canadian. She's from Canada.
Canadian, yep.
Obviously.
Seems like a fantastic story. Not necessarily my thing. That's usually your thing, but I thought that was cool because I was like, it just seemed odd to me because I didn't know anything about her, and it seemed odd that make that trainer switch. So I just had to research to see what was going on. And so
yeah, well,
that's
the horse has been with her, even though she kind of just went out on her own recently.
Yep.
But was still kind of helping out Jeremiah, and so she has been with this horse every day of her life. So I think the switch was kind of more of a formality. She was really taking care of the horse anyway. Obviously, it's nothing that's Jeremiah. Parcells and Jeremiah go back a long way, but it is a great story, and it's great for her. As I say, you could see she's got 23 starts this year, just went out on her own. And, to have someone like this officially move into your barn, even though she was already living in her barn.
Right before a grade 1, which is awesome.
This is I'll tell you, do you forget the New York bred thing, folks? This is a real racehorse, and this is going to be a good race.
Yeah, but to get back to your point, Howard, with Dazzling Blue, there's a lot of speed in this race, I think, potentially. So I think Dazzling Blue is just a tough one. I mean, you look at those race lines and you're like, okay, why am I not taking this horse? This horse just looks fantastic. Has Pratt. It's a Brad Cox out of Juddmonte. 3 very easy wins in a row. I guess the only reason you would maybe not is the buyers are a little light. But are the buyers a little light because she hadn't had to work that hard? It's hard to know. I mean, but she's definitely going to be the speed, and she's going to make the 5 work. If the 5 wants the lead, she's going to have to deal with this 2 horse. And in all honesty, I'm looking back at the time forms, the 2, the 5. I mean, even a couple horses outside the 6, and even the 8 Red Carpet. Slow. Yeah, and Red Carpet Ready isn't slow. I think Red Carpet Ready will be more patient, hopefully, and not get into that mix. But will be close enough to put pressure on horses who hopefully are taking pressure already from each other. So that was my thought, and that's why I'm sort of leaning on Red Carpet Ready along with Paul there.
Very brief,
actually.
Very brief. This is a major class test. I love this horse. I hate this spot. Last time in the Miss Preakness, guys, there's a horse called Key of Life, who was the main speed or the other speed and really talented, was on the inside, didn't break. Maple Leaf Mel just ended up getting a perfect trip and won and beat really nobody because the favorite didn't run. Red Carpet Ready is faced. We've already talked. Much tougher horses. I love the post. The only thing I don't like is that she doesn't have any works in New York and has not run in New York. That's a small concern for me that she'll handle Belmont.
Well,
if she handles Belmont, guys, I think she's a very likely winner, getting a perfect trip. And don't forget about the number 1 in Chirpolate, who broke my heart at Keeneland, just losing to Key of Life. Paul, we were there. We actually in the green room when that race happened the Sunday of Keeneland. So Interpolate's not impossible either, but I love Red Carpet Ready. I agree.
Howard, I would say this. Red Carpet Ready was scheduled to run in the Jersey Girls Stakes or the Jersey City Stakes, June 4th, the Thursday of Belmont weekend, that was canceled due to the poor air quality. So they kind of got stuck with this horse where they had to sit around an extra month now. So and that's a fact. This horse was pretty sharp. But you'll see has worked several times since the Churchill race. But obviously the horse wasn't canceled till that morning, but they decided to, Rusty Arnold is Kentucky based, so they shipped back to Kentucky. But yeah, this is a good horse, and you know how Oscar Performance, who we had a chance to visit, if you'll recall,
Yep.
at Mill Ridge. We visited Oscar Performance after the Keeneland card in April, and yeah, this is a really good horse. And as I said, Bo Bromagen and Patrick Lewis, both great guys and easy to root for, as is certainly the coach and Melanie Giddens.
Yeah, it should be a fun race. It's a prep for the grade 1 test later at Saratoga. So it's going to be a great race. Guys, let's just take a few minutes to talk about the last race, which of course is very difficult. And look at our picks, though. We have a lot of similar horses, even though it's a difficult race. I have a pretty strong opinion in this race, to be honest, and I'll talk about it here in a minute. Let me bring up the race itself. It closes out with a maiden 40, of course, claimer, 6 furlongs on the turf, New York Reds.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. 12 horse field, guys. If it holds together, there's some AEs. Borderline favorite is the number 2, Blue Plate Special, Dutro and Irad. Guys, we're going to go very quickly. Pete, you and I agree with Screw Loose on the inside.
Yeah, and I do not have a strong opinion, so you could feel free to jump in about 2 seconds, because this is purely hey, every time you watch one of these maiden claiming races, it winds up being some horse who didn't run great but came out of a maiden special. But I guess with this one, at least for me, in the last one, you see how he was up close on a hot pace and then eventually faded. Now you're talking second with the trainer, although Hennig, 0 for 11 maiden special weight to maiden claimers in the past 3 years, making that move. So, but again, that's a small sample size, and this is a very bad field top to bottom. So I'm figuring if you can get a win, this might be the one to do it. I figure maybe we get a decent trip from the rail, not too far back, hopefully. I don't know. Why don't you jump in and see what you like about this one?
Here's what I'll say. Paul, here's my strong opinion, Pete. I hate the 2. I don't. I know, Paul. Paul, have another beverage. Paul, it's like, look, I don't like the 2 for so many reasons, guys. This is the one horse, Pete and Paul, that I could be the most wrong of all day long in the last race. I don't get it. Okay, the horse is dropping down. Fine. The horse was already in for 40, 2 starts back, and lost. The drop down, okay, there's no turf breeding here. I mean, there's 0 turf breeding on the dam side. Kentheros is okay on the male side, but they're dropping this horse down. The works are awful. He's going to take a ton of money because it's IRAD. This horse, can he win? Sure. I wouldn't bet a dime on this horse at anything lower than 5-1 in the win end. I don't get it. Paul, tell me I'm crazy.
I would say this. I would say this. The last race, the horse this race is coming out of, granted it was on dirt and this is a turf race, but they're coming out of that race. There's been 1 winner and 2 other horses to run second in their subsequent starts. So that was a pretty decent maiden special weight. The horse has tactical speed. It's the biggest drop in racing, although, as you point out, you know, it is a drop, but remember, they only paid 40 for the horse 2 races ago. So, you know, they took their crack at 75 and they're like, okay, maybe we'll lose them for 40 and maybe we'll get a win or a place purse out of it. So it's not, you know, it's not a huge deal.
Why drop, turf, Paul? What? I don't.
Well,
turf the angle. I don't
because
know.
He's 0 for 3 on dirt, and why not?
I like him. That's exactly the reason I don't like him.
Well, I would, you know, as the favorite, you know, again, I'm looking at it from a horizontal point of view. He's a definite A for me, but yeah, I would, I kind of, as far as the body of the race, I don't disagree with you. I'm not tripping over myself to bet this horse is the favorite.
I'm just using him very defensively. Real quick, Pete, I know we got to move on here because Jim is waiting. Yeah. Real quick on Left Me Behind, I think this horse is very live, dropping down for Katie Davis. I think there's enough speed in the race. And there's one other horse I absolutely have to mention before we go. But any quick thoughts, either one of you on the 10?
Go ahead.
I had the 2 on top, and I thought right below them what my next 2 choices were the 1 and 10. I'd love, you know, Sakatoga and Jack Knowlton and his group, and Barkley, you know, always easy to root for them. So, yes, I thought the 1 and 10 were right there, as you can see underneath my 2.
Barkley Tag I don't have exact numbers, but he's not great in turf sprints. He's not great in sprints in general, but in turf sprints as well. So in a race where I don't think I'd bet any of these horses to win, in all honesty. So I was looking at one where I'm just like, this one, at least there's the drop down. There's some decent connections. There's some multiple next out winners came out of the last race on the turf that the 10 ran. And then the one before ran against Kalick. Now it got destroyed, but was, at least in the race. So who knows?
All right, real quick, I got some stats. And Jim Miller in the bullpen, be ready to take your wallet out because I got a crazy horse in this race that could make everyone a lot of money. So let me talk for a second here, guys. First of all, for people looking for fresh faces, the number 9, Linda's only 10% first time. Guys, she is 6% first time in a turf sprint. I couldn't believe it was that low. 6% first time in a turf sprint. I don't like the 9. The number 12, another fresh face, right? Boston Strong Mama, great name. Weaver's only 5 for 40. First time and the turf sprint, and 13% overall in the situation. And I don't like the post, so I don't really like the 12. Guys, here's my complete bomb in this race. The number 6, Jakey Byrne. Now, let me give you some information, okay? This horse did 0 running last time, but that was last year at Saratoga on the dirt, okay? Full makeover, a year. This is like a first-time starter, right? A year later, gelded, first time Lasix. The Army Mules are running, guys, okay on turf too. And Castellano, how many mounts do you think Castellano has with Bruce Brown this year? How many, just total mounts? You guys want to take a guess? Total mounts
2.
this year.
2.
That is correct. 2 mounts, Castellano for Bruce Brown. Finished second and finished third on a 30-1. This combination, guys, is 39% in the money. Okay, so the horse looks impossible on paper. I have no idea if this horse can run. What I do know is a lot of other horses I don't like, including the favorite with IRAD. Do not take Byrne, the number 6 horse, off your Jakey Byrne. If this horse runs, guys, at least even underneath, I will have some money in this horse in the trifecta, at least underneath. He's a fascinating wacko that wins these kind of bad races, guys.
I have him as a B, and it's based on a couple of things you said. So
Howard, the Army Mules are 18% winning turf sprints, by the way.
Army Mule is awesome. Army Mule is like the best combination young dirt and turf combination sire out there that doesn't get much love, nationally at least.
All right, I'm going to get arrows thrown at me from Jim Miller if we don't move on here, guys. So
I'm getting eaten alive out here for the good of the show, by the way.
Well, appreciate your dedication. There's an asterisk next to your pick 5. We'll explain why. 147, 48, 11, 5, 6, 11, 5, 8, 1, 2, 5, 10. An extra $8, but there's a good reason, Paul. $108. Why is that?
I had to use Dracone, my horse. So that's my excuse. Again, if you're being efficient on a caveman, you probably have to decide between the 5 and 8. I was really torn in this race. I don't want to get beat by Melanie Giddings' horse, and I don't want to get beat by Patrick Lewis's horse. But if you were being efficient, you'd pick one and take your chances. So and that would allow you to go, maybe 4 deep in a few of the other races, or maybe even 5 deep in the finale, Howard, which, based on the way you're talking, you would subscribe to that type of thinking.
I think so. Pete's $90 ticket is 157 with 128 with 4, 5, 8, 10, 11 with 8 singling red carpet ready against Maple Leaf Mel with 1, 2, 5, 10. Gutsy, Pete, $90.
Well, I on that leg, I agree with Paul. I think you sort of have to split between the two, and you pick which one you like. I sort of like red carpet ready, just a touch because of the other speed in the race and because of the outside post that maybe can get more of a cleaner trip from there. In the first leg, I think I'm sort of just taking the top one. The actually making me think this one we should do. Yeah, here you go.
Tell him done, man. It's done deal.
Done, Matt.
Done deal.
Sorry, Pete.
No. That's much more important. Yeah, first leg just went with some obvious ones. Second leg actually have some prices, so that's the one I'm looking for. Third leg, I think I'm going with. I like the Foxes, redistricting, Kalick, Farbridge, Webslinger, who we didn't even talk about. So went a little bit deeper there. Red carpet ready, and then in the last leg, if we weren't on the $90 budget, I probably would have added another maybe 3 horses to that last leg because I don't like any of them. I think it's wide open.
I agree. It's a tough race. I'm singing red carpet ready also, Pete. Great minds think alike, I hope. I've got 157 with 5, 8, 11 with 4, 5, 6, 10, 11. Pete, very similar to yours, as you can see.
Yeah, yep.
With 8, with 1, 5, 6, 10. I'm using Jakey Byrne. I don't need blue plate special. The number 2 with it's Irad. Oh no, he's going to win every race because he's 3-1. He's going to take a ridiculous amount of money. Don't take blue plate special, guys. Take a chance with the 6 and go with a much bigger price, and your pick 5 can explode to $6,000 instead of 600 or something. So that's my pick 5. It's $90, guys. Let's bring on Jim Miller, who's waiting very patiently. Paul, if you got to go ahead.
Yeah,
Paul.
I'm going in.
All right,
I'm
good luck.
getting
Take
out
care,
of the
Paul.
bugs
People
here.
stay on for a second, Pete.
Talk to you
See you, Paul.
Saturday, boys.
Take care, Paul. Good luck. All right. Let's bring on Jim. Let's bring on Jim Miller of Hawthorne Racecourses. Paul's getting eaten alive out there in Maine. How you doing, Jim?
I thought that was just like a backdrop. I couldn't believe that was like legitimately just sitting outside. So kudos to Paul for checking in from there. That's pretty awesome.
Pretty cool. What was not awesome, Jim, and we're just going to leave Pete on for a second, is wait till you see this, Pete. We got some horrific rain over the weekend, Sunday especially. What was weird, Jim, for people that are not familiar with Chicago area, it really only rained in like Chicago proper and like the west side of the city. I live on the north side of northern suburbs. We got rain, but it really wasn't that bad. I got like an inch or something. I mean, it was, but some of the pictures you have, Jim, here, I'm going to show on screen. You can tell each one here. I hope this is not your car, Jim.
No, but that's on the backstretch. That's right next to the garage on the backstretch at Hawthorne. And this storm stalled out right over the racetrack. And when I say stalled out, we had 8.6 inches of rain on Sunday. Wow. And initially they said it was just going to go and kind of pass through and be done by 10:30, 11 o'clock. No, that wasn't the case. So here's the thing with this picture. If you zoom in a little bit and you look kind of at the infield there, that's not supposed to be a lake there. That's just supposed to be the grass of the infield. And then to the left side, that's our turf course. So you can see how much the water washed out onto our turf course there. It was insane, the amount of rain. Then the next one is probably the craziest one. This is one of them. This is outside our Horsemen's Association trailer. That's a trash bin rolling down the backstretch right there in the middle. We had 3 or 4 feet of water that was going through the backside there. And it's one of those things where if you don't realize in Chicago, it takes them reversing the Chicago River to get places like this on the west side drained out. And then the last picture is probably the most insane. That's where we store our starting gates on the backside. So you figure, you see where the horses walk into the gate. That's up there probably 3.5, 4 feet high on the backstretch. So this is something where we dealt with throughout the course of the day on Sunday. And I'll tell you, the best thing of it all the horses were okay. All the help on the backside was okay. More than anything, it just became a cleanup process. But clearly, you can see why we didn't race on Sunday. You can see why we weren't on the turf yesterday. We weren't on the turf today. Right after yesterday's card, literally 10 minutes after yesterday's card, we had another 2 inches of rainfall at Hawthorne. So we're already off the grass for Sunday. We're not even going to bother with it. But I'll tell you,
ask you about that.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I like to do. I like to notify everybody ahead of time if there's no shot of being on the grass, and especially because we had a race with 5 MTOs entered in it. You notify them today. It allows them to help for their shipping, medication, shoes, just knowing that they're in the race. So all 5 of them are going to run in the race Sunday in race number 4. So it's something that benefits the better and benefits the horsemen as well.
Terrific. Well, I'm glad. Pete, thank God everyone's okay, because that's some scary ass pictures right there. So, Pete, we're going to let you go, and don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to cover the late pick 4 with Jim and talk about some cool events coming up with our podcast next week at Hawthorne. Pete, you had something you wanted to add here?
I was just going to say, hey, Jim, for you and your son, I just wanted to,
man.
Hopefully my man's feeling better. Hopefully we get that cast off, but I love it. I told
man.
my son about it because he loves Pennywise. So I told my son, he was very impressed. He's like, maybe I should break my arm. I'm like, let's not do that.
No,
it's
let's
summertime.
not do that.
You don't want that. You don't want that.
I felt so bad for the kid. And for those that are listening, it's just one of the things. He plays baseball. I coach baseball. Last Wednesday, he got hit with a pitch on the hand, and it was his right ring finger knuckle. So it was still like kind of against the bat when he got hit. he toughed it out because he knew he was going to pitch in a tournament Saturday. He actually pitched a complete game shutout on Saturday.
Wow.
And then on the 4th of July, we had just kind of a makeup game. You hit a ball off the end of the bat and said, hey, it stings a little bit. X-ray, you find out the knuckle's broken. So we're actually tomorrow morning at 6:30 heading in for surgery to get a couple of pins put in there. But he'll be okay. Season's over. But yeah, the Pennywise reference, the It reference, he did the little bit of a cast action. If you want to check it out, you can check it out. It's posted. I have it on my Twitter handle there, but he'll be okay. He's 16. He's going to heal up quickly, but it's going to be weird coaching baseball games that my son's not playing in for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, Jim. Pete, we're gonna let you go. Thanks a lot, man, and we'll see you. Well, we're gonna see you next week on several different podcasts. We'll get into that, but good luck on Saturday. It's gonna be a great racing day, Pete, between us and Horseshoe Indy.
All right, see you, everybody.
Take care, Pete. All right, Jim, let's get on. I got some questions for you real quick. And I apologize I didn't prep you on this, but I looked at the card on Sunday at Hawthorne, as I always do. First 2-year-old races of the year?
Yeah, they were supposed to be last Sunday. So it was one of those things.
Okay.
And Hawthorne's kind of tricky because we didn't typically run the 2-year-old races because we weren't running in the summer. So we were kind of the ones that were picking up where everybody left off when we had that fall meet. So to try to time things out for when we were going to run the 2-year-old races, how we were going to run them, and to just get people ready for these races. Finally, we're getting to that point. So a couple of 2-year-old races, they're starting to pick up a little bit. So you're probably going to see 2-year-olds on the track maybe once a week, maybe once every other week type of thing. But the filly race and the boy race both filled for Sunday.
Real quick, from Racing Downwind, remember to join the Saratoga Power Picks. We're starting a new tip sheet just for Saratoga, Jim. You'll be on the list there. Saratoga is very tricky track, and rains a lot. Track surface changes. Make sure you join. Thank you, Racing Downwind. We hope we have a lot of people join. And from Tom Espinosa, great viewer from San Francisco, Estrada had a similar injury from your son. Apparently, he's just wishing your son hope he recovers soon. Thank you
very much, Tom.
Very nice. Okay, race 1. At Hawthorne, not part of the late pick 4, right? There's a horse called Dorothy Crowfoot. Jim, I need some help there, okay? This horse, this is in race 1, Sunday at Hawthorne. $500,000?
Yeah.
$500,000 Audible colt. And Audible is only $25, $25,000, excuse me, to breed to. 20 times the stud fee for Larry Ravelli with a bullet works all over the place, including hello for a 2-year-old at this time of year. 59 breezing. Jim, is this like the next superstar?
Yeah, wow. You never know. And the thing is, Carolyn Wilson.
7 to 2 more line, by the way. What's that all about?
Scroll through the field a little bit, and you'll kind of see why. Ravelli's got another one in there that's going to be pretty tough. I mean, you look at Richie's Gal. That's a horse that also should be pretty good. And it's, again, you're kind of looking through the works, and that Dorothy Crowfoot probably will take a good amount of action, but it's kind of trying to figure out what the bettors are going to do in that race, because Julio Felix is not typically your number 1 rider, even for Ravelli. He's kind of the guy that's the second or third rider. So when you scroll through and see where Ravelli lined things up, that was the reason. But Carolyn Wilson has had some good horses. She had a horse by the name of the Tabulator that ran in the Breeders' Cup years ago. She has some good purchases. She has some horses that can run very well. And especially for these young horses, Ravelli used to be the king of the 2-year-olds at Arlington. I mean, it was every 2-year-old race he was winning. He's one of the guys who had these horses ready 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and the 2-year-old races then just weren't filling. So he's been waiting on these horses, training them. And you see 59 and 2. That's a really good workout for any type of horse at Hawthorne, but especially for a 2-year-old.
Maybe he wants longer. I mean, how good do you have to be? I mean,
and that's the other thing too. Like, we're sitting at 4.5 furlongs for 2-year-olds. He said that these horses are ready to go 3/4 already. So you're right. But the other thing for Larry, he's very good with training horses to get out of the gate. So when you see a quick gate drill, this is a horse that probably pops right out of the gate, and there's not going to be any stamina issues for the horse either.
Well, I've talked to Frank Mustari about this. Anyone who knows contest play, of course, you know Mustaris. And I asked Frank actually last year, like, how does Ravelli do it? He's similar to Ward. The minute when they break him down in Florida, they just break him out of the gate more often than most. They don't. I'm not saying they like, they don't like work the horse, you know, 50,000 times. They don't, abuse the horse or anything. They just, their style is break out of there quickly, and the horses learn how to break quickly from the gate when they're younger, before they even hit the track. And I mean, anyone who's a fan of Arlington or used to be, exactly. I mean, his horses almost always break like lightning. Even his like lower claiming horse is just amazing.
Well, and the thing is too, and it's one of the things that's interesting. I've sat with Larry Ravelli during training hours, so he sits basically right at the 3/4 pole on the racetrack. So our horses for the starting gate for morning works are at the 6.5 furlongs, so they're only a 16th of a mile away. But he does it. It's time and again, horse after horse after horse. They go out there, they do their warm up, and it's basically nothing but a break from the gate. Go out there, get away from the gate, get away a few jumps, but it's used to the surroundings of the gate, hearing the bell, hearing the talking out of that. So then these horses aren't fractious in the gate. They're not missing the break by any means. It's the reason they always break sharply. And then after that, you kind of figure it out for the training. But it's not like he's busting them out of the gate, like you say, day after day after day and working 5/8 of a mile. They may bust out of the gate and go 70 yards, and that's it.
Have you seen that horse work, by the way?
I have. I saw that 59-2 work. It was a good work.
Okay, well, there you go. By the way, Matt Miller has a comment. When a top trainer like this has 2 in the race, follow the money. Check every pool, doubles, exactas, wins. Smart people bet in more than just the win pool to mask bets. Couldn't agree more. We'll see who's going to take more money. I have a gut feeling it's going to be the 5, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's move on, Jim. We could talk about that forever. There's another. The last race of the day is also a baby race. So with another
good bunch there too.
First on paper. You're going 2, 3, 4 in the first leg of the pick 4. Again, this is Sunday, everyone. Sunday at Hawthorne. Race 5. He's going 2, 3, 4. You're going with Vostra on top, trying to beat the big morning line favorite, the number 1. Blaze Beauty at 8-5. You don't even have the 1 anywhere. This is, by the way, 1.70 miles maiden special weight.
And that was the reason why. It's kind of just take a stab at what you're going to look at for 2 turns, 4 maidens. The 1 Blaze Beauty, speed figure wise, looks to be the horse that's going to be pretty tough. I mean, you see those speed figures 53, 43, 51, and it's not great by any means, but those are all in sprint races. You go to the 2 Vostra, they go to the 3 Jay-Z's Fine Wine. These are horses that have at least gone 2 turns. So that race back on May the 14th for Vostra was a race that puts the horse right there in the mix. That was a 49 there. The debut race on October 15th last year was actually sneaky good. The horse broke horribly, ran up into the pace on the far turn, and then kind of flattened out late. And I think this is a horse that could be tough at a decent price. Jay-Z's Fine Wine ran pretty well on the turf in that last out, but you get some of those races back there a little bit more that they're not too bad around 2 turns. Joel Zawitz has quietly had a really good meet with a lot of long shot type of horses too, but he's at a 24% clip. And then I just like the progression that you've seen with Pacific View. I think the horses run a little bit better. So again, just looking for a price, try to upset the horse that's going to be the heavy favorite in the first leg.
Yeah, Tapature by Arch. Mayor, you'd think distance, but I'm always dubious, Jim, always dubious when you have a horse, that it's just they continually sprint this horse. And it's almost like, well, let's just try long because sprinting hasn't worked. And so these kind of horses to me are just horrible bets. Can she win? I mean, would you be shocked? No. Do you want any piece of her at 6-5? We don't.
No, and that's the way you bet against the value. You look for the value in the race. Some other horses that are very similar that are going to be a much better price, and this is a horse that's going to be a short price with enough question marks that you can look away from it.
Totally agree. Race 6 is an allowance race. We'll put up here on the screen. They're going 2 turns. I love 2-turn dirt races. It's my favorite kind of race, Jim. 2-turn dirt races. 7-horse field here. Morning favorite is number 5, Tahoe Run. Robertson and Felix, you're not messing around here with
no, and this is one of the things where if you have to go and take a firm stance somewhere, I think this is a horse that you're doing on. And Tahoe Run ran against some really good horses around 2 turns and trying to break its maiden at Oaklawn Park throughout the course of the year, and ran well. And then finally that last out, that was just that good effort. Rated close, got that move on the turn, and then just ran away. And he was wrapped up going under the wire, winning by 6.5 lengths. He could have won by more. He repeats that race. It's good enough to defeat this field here. And you look, Slava Ukraine, he's a horse that probably goes out there and shows some speed. Connie's Coop has been away since last October, probably going to need a start as well, or last September, going to need a start. I just think everything sets up for Tahoe Run to get the right trip and repeat that last performance.
I think Tahoe Run was part of a pick 4 we talked about. I'm not sure. I think you had him on top.
We talked about this horse a couple of back for that May 28th race, and that was a race where the horse ran really well, just got beaten by Sharp as Nails as the even money favorite that day.
By the way, the sire, 3-hour nap, very underrated Illinois bred, really good. I think more of a sprinter, but really good horse. 3-hour nap was one of my favorite horses to bet. Was that Michelle Boyce? I'm trying to remember who trained 3 Hour Nap.
3 Hour Nap was a Hugh horse for a long time.
It was
actually.
Hugh. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
showing for people.
So and then you go through. I know
here.
Hugh had
Look
it.
at the
Michelle might have had it
nice
earlier
horse.
on, but it was a Hugh horse for some time.
It actually went longer. I didn't
There you
realize
go.
the horse went longer that much. Wow. Okay, I was wrong about that. But anyway, nice horse. Let's move on to the next race here. Then we'll go a little bit quick here. Race 7. Let's
Off the turf.
Off the turf. So now what's the distance going to be?
So 7.5. I made the decision that 7.5 goes to a mile 70 because I believe that 2-turn races should stay to 2-turn races. So 7.5 is a 2-turn race on the turf. Mile 70 is as well. And that's the shortest distance we can run into 2 turns. So we go to a mile 70 yards.
Maybe this is a bad question because it's not possible, but if Hawthorne had a 7 furlong dirt distance,
no,
would you make this a dirt race at 7 furlongs?
No, if it was a 1-turn 7 furlongs, no. If it was 2 turns, yes. But I think I am a believer 2 turns has to stay 2 turns.
I totally agree with you. I don't like when tracks anyway.
Like here's a great example for you, Howard. I'm not a huge fan of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile being a 1-turn race. The tracks that can do it at 1 turn. I think the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile should be a 2-turn race every year.
Well, what if you're at so make it a mile and 16th then? If you're at a track that,
what
would you do then?
Yeah, I think they ran it one year. I think it was a mile 70, I believe, actually, because they couldn't run the mile.
It's interesting. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Race, let's see, third leg of the pick 4, race 7, 15 claimers. It's going to be 2 turns, mile 70. You just say, I'm sorry, mile 70.
Yeah, right? Mile 70. Yep.
Mile 70 on the dirt. So another 2-turn dirt race. I like it. You got a field of 9. Are they all going to, I'm assuming they're all not going to stay in then, right?
I mean, looking up and down the field, maybe Galib's Dreams, the 3 is the horse that's going to come out of there. I think pretty much everyone else sticks in. Maybe Celestial Spin comes out, but that's a horse that hasn't been great on turf or dirt. So I think a lot of them will stick around.
All right, and you're going 7-1-8. Of course, guys, Jim is in control of all of so his picks, obviously, he knows they were coming off the dirt. Izzy's Monster, 6-1, coming off a nice win for a very underrated trainer to me and Cody Rosine Santiago. Just broke his maiden, and sometimes these horses, when they start feeling right, they can do it again. That's what you're thinking here.
Yeah, kind of the light bulb angle. That's exactly right.
Yep.
I mean, this is a horse that you went back to the 2 turns after running a decent 2-turn race last October, but second start out of the year. Definitely an improved effort. I like that they're going back to the 2-turn race here. I don't think he cared if it was going to be turf or dirt. They were probably actually hoping that it was a race that came off the turf. But anything that you can repeat close to that performance probably puts the horse in the mix. Watch out for the 8 Free Love. It's a horse that I think is going to go out there and show a little bit of speed as well. And if nobody goes with Free Love, we saw some horses today that were stretching out from a lot of sprints to routes that were able to wire the field. So maybe Free Love's a horse that's worth consideration as well.
Is there any other speed to go with her? She's got a 107 early time for him.
Maybe the 2, Talk to Me Justice, but I'm not sure. The one thing that's curious about the 2, though, is this is a horse that was racing at Horseshoe Indianapolis, and there's some different races that they could run in there. They chose to come over here to Hawthorne instead as an Indiana-bred racehorse. So that's the thing that's kind of intriguing about Talk to Me Justice. They want to come over, run at Hawthorne. David Reed in limited starters has done actually pretty well this meet. So Talk to Me Justice is the other one that could be intriguing because you look at the last route start. That was last November the 22nd. That was a figure that would put this horse right in the mix with these as well.
That's interesting. Just for people at home, an angle that I've found, an unusual angle that actually has been very effective for me, Jim. I do not like horses like the 7 who look really good on paper, but they have speed directly to their outside because, again, sometimes those horses come over on them immediately and they can get a little bit checked or steadied. I mean, you never know, but just something to look out for. I do not like picking a top choice horse who's got with a horse with a lot of speed right to their outside, unless there's also a lot of speed to their inside and then they just get that trip. But I don't know, just something to throw out there. It's one of those weird gate things that I've found.
Well, and it's a reason why you take a race like that. You'll see when we put my ticket up, it's a reason why I spread in that race too. I think you have to, just because of some of those reasons.
The last race, here you go. 2-year-olds, babies, 4.5 furlongs. Love the purse. Great job by Hawthorne. Nice $35,000 purse for these horses. It's an 8-horse field. You got a favor on the outside in Ravenstown for Ravelli Mohican, actually an Ontario bred. And this horse caught my eye immediately. And that's who you're going with. The works on this one look very good also.
And the thing is, I like the works. Mohica is Ravelli's go-to guy. So that's the reason that I laid this horse the favorite in there. Classic Richie already had a start. I actually watched that debut race at Presque Isle, and I thought the horse ran okay.
Okay,
I was expecting a little bit more, actually, and the horse just kind of stalked, but never really had that kick in the lane. So we'll see. But you know what? The horse on the outside, Ravenstown, the ownership group, I mean, Patricia's Hope is Vince Foglia, who is a part owner of Two Phils. Richard Raven has had so many good horses over the course of time. $300,000 OBS purchase. Again, nice pattern of works leading towards the debut. You see 4 half-mile drills, and now all of a sudden you're just having to go 4.5. This is a horse. I don't mind the outside draw too. And 4.5 is a pretty short run into the first turn. But just like you mentioned, again, horses on the outside with speed, when they're coming across, they want to come across and get out of there pretty quickly. And that's what I'm expecting out of Ravenstown.
Jim, it's again for me. It's 60. That's right, 60 times the stud fee of 5,000. And look, that guarantee? And we can talk about the Green Monkey forever. If you know about the Green Monkey, people at home, we know the $12 million horse that never won a race. I get all that, but you know what, Jim? We've been around a long time, both of us. When you see a horse that was 60 times the stud fee with this kind of breeding and with this kind of trainer, I'd be shocked if this horse doesn't come out flying from the outside. And I mean, we don't know, but could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, and there's actually a couple of decent horses in there. I mean, the 3 is intriguing. Take a look at the 350 somewhere. That's the horse that's a little bit intriguing as well because they have a couple of starts at Churchill Downs. And that race in that last out was okay. But here's the thing. Everybody's going to look at that and say the horse has a couple of starts. You take a little bit of money there. But I think Ravenstown definitely will be the toughest on the outside for sure.
And going 4.5, and this is no handicapping secret here. You have to break. I mean, any little break. If you don't break well, you have absolutely no chance. And you know, I mean, how many closers win 4.5 furlongs? It just doesn't happen. You can win maybe mid-pack, but you've got to be in that front flight in general, unless it's a complete meltdown to win 4.5, Jim. And so I might just single the 8 in my own pick 4.
Sure.
Let's take a look at your pick 4. Speaking of pick 4s here, Jim's pick 4, $18. Let me take this banner. 2, 3, 4 with 5. That's the 2-turn horse that won last time. Made my 7. With 1, 2, 7, 8. You're going 3 deep in the last race with 3, 6, 8. Maybe trying to get some value in beating the Rivella on the outside.
Well, and the only reason I went 3 deep is only because you do have a couple of first timers, so you don't know if they're going to break or not. But because I went with Tahoe Run for the single, I'm going to try to beat that 8-5 favorite who could be shorter in the first leg. So that's where your value comes. If you can beat that horse in the first leg, Tahoe Run's a pretty good single. It's a wide open race for the 7th, especially coming off the turf. So you see 4 deep in there. When you're only spending $18, Howard, again, you knock out the favorite, even if it went chalk, you're at least doubling your money. So I think you can go even better than that, spread just a little bit, and I think things will hopefully work out just fine for us. But again, it's going to be a fast track Sunday, but no turf racing, so just make sure they handicap accordingly.
Well, Jim, as we end the show, I apologize. I really should have Hawthorne in the background for the banner, but sorry about that. Can we talk about next week real quick? Because I don't know what's happening exactly. So, first of all, next Saturday, we already promoted it. Very excited. We're going to be the Crestwood OTB late afternoon. Check YouTube. We're going to be live on our YouTube channel covering some races at Saratoga. It's going to be very exciting with a live audience at the Crestwood OTB. But then Sunday, Jim, and we haven't talked yet in detail. I'm still waiting to hear. I don't know. I hope it's going to happen. Sunday, I will be at Hawthorne and hopefully be with you for a short period of time, at least on the feed. What do we got in store for Sunday the 16th with yourselves and the podcast and myself?
It's happening. We're actually going to set you up right there on the apron right in front of the building in that first turn. So that'll be a cool setup for you guys to be able to watch the races and have everybody kind of mill about and check things out. Then we're going to have the ability for you to come up to our studio, join us for the in-house feed for a couple of races and talk a little bit, not only about the podcast, but do a little bit of handicapping with us as well. I know you wanted to meet some of the riders, some of the trainers and that too. So we'll get you set up for that also, but we'll make sure we have a fun time. Maybe every once in a while I do some hits from the turf course. So we'll see if we're back on the grass. Maybe I'll bring you out there on the turf as well. And we'll go out and have a little bit of fun on the turf.
Jim, first of all, thank you to everyone, yourself and everyone involved at Hawthorne for giving this podcast and myself the opportunity to do that, because I know, I hope I'm not taking anything away from Emily, because Emily does a fantastic job.
She does a great job. So, she's been doing awesome.
No, Emily's awesome. So for anyone out there, I'm not no rumors, I'm not replacing Emily, no nonsense. But it's going to
be a 3-person show that day, at least, maybe 4.
There we go. Well, listen, 4. Wow, okay.
Well, it depends on who you bring out.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. I'm not sure. I got to talk to my peeps. So my people will talk to your people.
Good.
Figure it out. But anyway, does it have to just no rain the next week? And what's the situation as we end the show here? How much rain can you handle to have turf racing next weekend?
You know what? Here's the hard thing. It's got to stay dry from here on out through the weekend to probably be back on the turf next Wednesday. And right now the forecast next week is rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll see. The good thing about it is we're able to look well ahead for the forecast. We kind of try to card races accordingly. So like I said, for the Sunday card, we knew that rain was a possibility there. So we had a race that was a turf race with 5 MTO horses and 5 horses in that race on the grass that were going to stay in. So a field of 7 could become a field of 10 anyway, just because of the main track onlys coming in. So we kind of have to handicap our entries before we even draw the races too, just to see what's going to provide the best fields for everybody. So we'll be looking for the same when we enter tomorrow for Wednesday's card.
All right, well, make sure you got plenty of A's and MTOs, everything Sunday. I don't want any 3-horse fields out there.
You'll be good.
I know you'll do a great job and take care of that. Listen, for my fantastic co-hosts, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran, and for director of Hawthorne Racing, Jim Miller, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 273 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Buy those Saratoga Power Picks. Subscribe now. You will not regret it. Good luck at Hawthorne and at Belmont this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.